Sophie Cunningham has agreed to a one-year deal to return to the Indiana Fever, sources told ESPN. Cunningham joins guards Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hall. And coming back to the Fever, Indiana has added newcomers Monique Billings and Ty Harris. So far this free...
One of the biggest, most fervent fan bases in all of basketball was just rocked by something the Indiana Fever did. It has been loudly, publicly, and completely locked in for another run. You can already see why Caitlin Clark and Fever fans everywhere had an incredible NBA season, if you know anything about what these two stand for. Not only is the Clark-Cunningham partnership still in existence, but it has been loudly, openly, and completely locked in for another run. And you can already see why Caitlin Clark and Fever fans everywhere went crazy, if you know anything about what these two stand for.
You kind of cooking. You're just kind of cooking. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say, I'm not going to say you're cooking. We expected this to be done, but it is a great thing that it is official. Ink to paper, baby. Ink to paper. Tres Leches is back in full effect. The blonde bomber, okay? The one who was willing to fight, throw the Hadoukens. Sophie Cunningham is officially back in the...
Let's first discuss the moment itself before delving into the deal, the cap gymnastics, and the implications for Indiana's 2026 identity. Because the manner in which this news was received is nearly as significant as the news itself. Since Caitlin Clark joined the WNBA, the Fever have been closely watched. Fans are keeping an eye on every roster choice, rotation change, and free agency rumor as if they were following a championship stock. Additionally, one question persisted on the timeline for weeks. Will Sophie Cunningham be able to stay inside the building? It was not a guarantee, with other teams circling and Cap's expression taut.
Signed a deal with the Fever. It took us several days, but Indiana finally reached a deal with Sophie Cunningham for a one-year contract to bring the team together that was on a run last year until everybody got hurt. Now, Sophie claimed fame last year after she tackled down J.C. Sheldon in a game that saw Sheldon and Mabry knock down Caitlin Clark. And Sophie stepped in and said, you know what, I'm not taking it. And she took after J.C.
Fever supporters' response to the official post, which included the squad image, the caption, and the news that Cunningham had resigned on a new one-year contract, was instantaneous, boisterous, and largely one word: relief. Since this isn't just any signing. This is the resignation of the player who has repeatedly demonstrated that she is prepared to take the initiative when things get heated or physical, or when Caitlin Clark becomes the focal point of every conflict.
It's beautiful work to have her back. We know what she was doing last year with the 3-and-D, right? The spark of the team. When the team was stagnant, she come out, talk some trash, get a turnover, run it coast to coast, right? And she turned into one of the Splash Sisters. Ooh, that girl was shooting the Wilson off the ball, huh? I was loving what Sophie was doing right before she got injured and put out for the season. She was really balling. That lady was hooping. All right, regardless of how anybody might feel about her, that girl was...
You are already familiar with the pattern if you watched any of the Fever's previous season. Caitlin Clark makes contact, which is followed by additional contact, hard screens, extra bumps, late bouts, and remarks after the whistle. Whole defense strategies designed to exhaust her both physically and mentally. A few players watched from the sidelines. Sophie Cunningham didn't. Cunningham was always the one running into the picture, into the huddle, into the area where a message had to be delivered. Sometimes it was a glance, and other times it was a hand on Clark's back yanking her away from an impending altercation. Occasionally, you could whisper in an opponent's ear that they weren't only dealing with number 22 if they wanted to continue poking. Everyone wearing that Fever jersey was being dealt with. Because of this signing is significant on a level that is not reflected in a box score. The Fever maintain more than simply a strong two-way wing. They retain the player who has repeatedly stated that no one will mistreat Caitlin Clark while she is in charge.
Centerpiece. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you got Sophie on the books this year, Kelsey on the books this year. They both get off the books next year. AB, CC, and then hopefully Amber Cox will get her head out of her rear end and start putting together a team that makes us say, damn, we have it good over here. Puts together a team that makes CC say, damn, I want to stay.
Let's take a moment to consider the foundation of this collaboration. Every game becomes an event thanks to Caitlin Clark's star power, long-range shooting, and playmaking. She is every graphics headline name and the franchise's face. The athlete whose jersey appears in every stadium, both at home and abroad. A certain reality follows that spotlight. There are players in this league who would love nothing more than to knock her off balance, literally and figuratively. They'll talk in her ear, push into her personal space, chase her across all screens, and see how much she can handle. Sophie Cunningham offers a unique and equally significant contribution. She doesn't require every play to be prepared for her. She is the player who silently fulfills the role that lets Clark be Clark.
That is a huge addition to the Indiana Fever. She knows the running gun. She plays just like how Caitlin wants to play. She loves Caitlin. So, yeah, man, I think this works out fantastic. This is it.
She sets the tone physically so that the Fever never gives off the energy of a team you can push around, takes on the difficult defensive responsibilities on the perimeter, and uses her size and power to battle with bigger wings. Additionally, Cunningham is the one that approaches the matter rather than avoiding it when a teammate, especially someone like Clark, begins to be targeted. Casual fans occasionally overlook this unstated aspect of contemporary WNBA roster construction. Simply surrounding your star with shooters and scores is insufficient. Players who will defend your star on an emotional, physical, and cultural level are what you need. Players whose demeanor conveys a message. By keeping Cunningham in the building, Indiana has strengthened their understanding of that obligation.
The number one team for the championship right now. Did y'all think any of the players from last year was going to go anywhere? Where better do you go? You come play for Indiana, you automatically going to have more fans, more people care about you. You're going to be seen. You playing next to the greatest thing that ever happened to the WNBA and Caitlin Clark. Like, it's unmatched. Also, this is another thing I told everybody, even when I went live yesterday, don't worry. Sophie will be back.
Fever fans are not merely bystanders to all of this. So let's now discuss the fans. They are experiencing this in real time. Social media was filled with joy, relief, and pure exhilaration as soon as the resignation was made public. Comments such as, "Caitlin finally has someone who always has her back," "Lock her in forever," and "Sophie is exactly the kind of player you win with when the lights become bright" were posted. In other games, Cunningham demonstrated that the Fever were not going to let things go by stepping in front of a drive, absorbing contact, or just standing shoulder to shoulder with Clark following a hard foul. Those recollections are important. They foster a sense of trust between a team and its supporters. And for that reason, a large number of Indiana supporters were expressing the same idea in other ways. If you are serious about competing for anything genuine, you sign like this.
Bodyguard, in each round, they come close to the league, ladies and gentlemen. Sophie, great to have you back. Translation is back in full effect. The whole game is back, ladies and gentlemen. We about to make this run. Sophie, I know you saw that little TikTok with Clark and Lexi the other day and you felt left out. Well, guess what? Today, we got you back in action for the 2026 season, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all gonna make me lose my tail, boy.
Naturally, there was a single, genuine worry that pervaded the entire off-season discussion: the cap on salaries. The Fever's operational flexibility is limited. Every additional dollar is covered by Boston, Aaliyah, Clark, and the main elements they have committed to. Because of the competitive market and Cunningham's veteran status, some people really questioned whether it was even possible to bring him back. Additionally, the addition was made public on Sunday, April 12, 2026. The needle was threaded by the front desk. They managed to maintain flexibility going forward, maintain their cap structure, and retain one of the most significant voices in the locker room. That goes beyond simply quitting. That is the alignment of on-court strategy, cap management, and culture management in a single action. The organization's message is really clear. Yes, having the right people around Caitlin Clark is just as important as the cap.
to see Indiana dealing out one-year deals. Kelsey Mitchell, too. Remember, Caitlin Clark can get a big salary bump next year under the new EPIC provision. Aaliyah Boston is eligible for it this year. Fever would have to do some retooling to fit everyone under the cap. And I'm here to tell you guys, I know Sophie Cunningham was looking for long-term security, okay? I believe she was trying to get 2 to 3 years out of Indiana, and they just like, look, you're not a spring chicken. You're not, you've been in the league. You're a vet.
This is where things become even more intriguing. Sophie Cunningham had already announced a new studio contributor position with USA Network for its WNBA coverage this season while all of this was going on. One of the more intriguing subplots of her free agency was sparked by that small bit of information. It appeared to be a logical progression at first glance. Cunningham possesses the basketball IQ, attitude, and presence necessary to succeed on television. She speaks confidently about the game. She is aware of plots and doesn't hesitate to express her opinions. Beneath it, however, was an on-air voice discussing the league, the schedule, and perhaps even its own locker room. Her free agency became more complicated than a straightforward sign-and-play situation because of those questions. Nevertheless, after considering all of that, the Fever concluded that she was deserving of priority. They created her one-year contract with all of that in mind, embracing her as a player, leader, and now on-air personality. That demonstrates how much they respect her voice both on the team and in the larger discussion regarding women's basketball.
Sophie Cunningham is signing with USA Network for WNBA coverage, so kind of similar role like Caitlin Clark is doing. But here's my thing. This is usually a role that's for former players, retired players, or professional broadcast journalism. I'm a little confused about this role right here. They said that she's basically going to be like Draymond Green, Candace Parker, doing partially throughout the season, doing contributions as a host or reporter, I think. And I read it, I'm like, this is kind of an odd move.
As the 2026 season approaches, consider the dynamic this creates. You have a tried-and-true Clark-Cunningham partnership on the court. In addition to knowing when to cut, space out near the three-point line, and slip into the openings created when defenders overcommit to the ball, Cunningham is adept at reading Clark's tempo. She can affect the play without having the ball in her hands. She uses a screen. She moves. From workouts and national team games, she sets the kind of subtle off-ball moves that allow Clark to change a possession. You get a backcourt wing duo that is balanced in addition to being gifted. Cunningham will now represent the WNBA on a national stage off the court. She will be analyzing games, highlighting plots, and probably discussing Caitlin Clark from both an analyst's and a teammate's point of view. It's a special position to have, and if done well, it might benefit both of them. Cunningham is a leader and a voice for the league, while Clark is a star.
Cunningham was a big piece of the Indiana Fever success last year, and quite frankly, I would have took Sophie Cunningham over Elena Smith. Just her presence on the court alone would have just...
In a league where rosters change frequently and chemistry can be brittle, the Fever have managed to hold onto one of their most significant relationships, the Clark-Cunningham partnership, and emotions are high. She knows who will enter the huddle and ensure that everyone's attention remains fixed on the next play. This kind of trust does not develop in a single season. It takes repetitions during practices, games, and times when the cameras are not there. Indiana is unwilling to make a fresh start by firing Cunningham. They are not attempting to reconstruct their identity and toughness from the ground up. They are expanding on what they already know is effective.
I got to give the Fever front office credit. It seems like they learned from their mistakes last year. They tried to build a little bit too early last year. And to be fair, you could do that because you could be short-sighted because everyone becomes a free agent following year. But I feel like trading that. Like, could you imagine if this team had Sanaya Rivers, or if this team had Zaza James, or if this team had Kahina Pau, or any of those players? Like, this team would be in a much better state on a cost control rookie deal for 4 more years. Like, trading that 8th pick was very short-sighted.
When all is considered, What does this resignation actually say? The Fever know what their star needs. It states, 10 individuals wanting to be the hero every night is not necessary for Caitlin Clark. She needs partners who will support her throughout the inevitable storms, run with her, defend alongside her, and share the pressure. It indicates that the front office is prepared to overlook cap issues in order to maintain the Cunningham relationship and the appropriate kind of challenger. The defensive identity remains unaltered. In the locker room, the leadership voice remains intact. Now that that box has been ticked, the Fever will have something extremely useful in their back pocket when they head into training camp during the regular season. Clarity.
I really think this team really has a chance to be really successful. I really do. I think could win the championship. They almost beat the Aces with a bunch of randoms off the street. You don't think they could beat the Aces? Honestly, even though the Aces signed all those guys, I'm not scared of them. I'm not.
Because in the end, this is what it all boils down to. Not only was Caitlin Clark thrilled to hear that a friend and teammate would be back, but she also understood the implications for the upcoming contests. She is aware that there is someone in that locker room who will always watch out for her, who will always stand up to the plate, and who won't think twice about getting into a heated situation. The Indiana Fever did more than simply re-sign a player. They returned with a leader, a rival, and a protector. The 2026 season is almost approaching. There will be brilliant lights. The games will be fierce. The cacophony around Caitlin Clark will only intensify. But now she won't have to cope with it alone because of this one-year agreement that was revealed on April 12th. Sophie Cunningham will be present on the court, in the huddle, and now even in the studio to ensure that the Indiana Fever story is written by those who are prepared to stand up for one another every single night.